Hey, what is going on everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario, and this is a special treat for PS4 owners right here, or even prospective PS4 owners, because this has been hyped up and anticipated for quite a while. This video will show you all how you can take this little application here, an old abandoned application by the name of PlayStation Vue, and use this just like this to, well, completely jailbreak your PS4 within seconds. Thankfully, it's not too difficult to set up, and really all you need is your PS4, a network connection of some kind, and a USB drive, and of course a way of copying a few files to and from the system. But once you have this all jailbroken, congratulations, you'll be able to run homebrew applications, emulators, games with mods, cheats, and so much more. It's a pretty awesome experience overall. This here comes from the VueMoney team in the form of Vue After Free, which it states is a PlayStation Vue userland code execution exploit for PlayStation 4, essentially allowing you to, like I said, take this and repack and modify the application in a way that turns it into a nice little jailbreaking application. It does work for all versions of the PS4, meaning the original PS4, the PS4 Slim, and the PS4 Pro all work with this, as long as you are within a supported firmware version. Now this works for firmwares 7.00 all the way up to 13.00, so as long as you are within that range, you should be good. And typically when it comes to PS4 things, it's better to be on a lower firmware, but if you're within this range, it's best to kind of just stay where you're at. So if you're on a firmware lower than 7.00, there's already some pretty stable options available. And if you're on a firmware higher than 13.00, then it's going to be recommended to keep your system offline and wait for a new jailbreak to use on your system. Now this here, of course, is my jailbroken PS4 and a system that I already had jailbroken previously. And if you already have a jailbroken PS4 and want to install Vue on it, you are going to have to check out a different video, which is specifically for jailbroken systems, because there's two different install methods for this here. I am going to have it linked down below in the video description, but you should be able to follow that and get it all set up. This video is going to be intended for people who do not have a jailbroken PS4, meaning that you might be on 13.00 and you don't have any other entry point, or you just got this PS4, you're wanting to set it up from scratch, which if you haven't set up anything on the PS4, that's even better, because we are going to have to wipe the system. Oh yeah, more on that in a bit. There's a few disclaimers I'd like to get out of the way here. First of all, like I said, your firmware version on your system is going to have to be within this supported range, so you need to be on at minimum firmware 7, but you cannot be on any firmware higher than 13.00. That's going to be really important for this. If you need to check your current firmware, you can navigate up here, go over to settings, go down to system, and navigate to system information. Once you're here, look at the system software version. Granted, mine is running HEN, but you're going to need to look for the numbers and make sure your system software is somewhere between 7.00 and 13.00. Since I'm running 9.00, my system is a perfect candidate for this. Additionally, a network connection is going to be required for this here. You'll have to go to your settings, go to network, make sure your network is enabled, and you need a network connection of some kind to your system in order to use Vue After Free. That is a hard requirement, and if you're someone who you do not want to have a network on your system at all, you're not going to be able to use Vue After Free for this, unfortunately. There's other methods out there such as BDJB, Lua, PPPone, even the web browser. Just look and see what is available to you. Now, since this only works up to 13.00, every single time I upload a video, there's people who do ask, does this work on the latest firmware? How can I get this on a higher firmware? And the answer here is you can't unless it's updated for that. But other people do ask how they can downgrade their firmware, and the answer is you can downgrade your firmware in a way, kind of. It's called firmware reverting, and you can check out more about this over on the console mods page right here. However, if you are asking about this, most likely, and I mean this respectfully, you're probably not going to be able to do this here, because this does require opening up your system, soldering in a few components, and performing some sensitive steps on your system in order to possibly get it to a lower firmware. There's a lot more information on this here, but if this is something you do not want to do, either find a system on a lower firmware or keep your current system offline until there is a jailbreak available for your higher firmware. When is that going to happen? I don't know. know, I'm not the one to ask about that, but patience is key with PS4 jailbreaks. Oh yeah, also worth mentioning as well here, there is no PlayStation Network access on outdated firmwares, and that is done on purpose. That is why these jailbreaks are released for lower firmwares. So for anybody asking about PlayStation Network access, you won't be able to do that, unfortunately. You'll either be able to have a fully up-to-date PS4 online, or you're going to need to take your PS4 offline on an outdated firmware and have a jailbreak. It's going to be up to you. Oh, and for my final disclaimer right here, remember I said that thing about wiping your system? Yeah, that's going to need to get done here. So you see mine is already set up, but in this process, I am going to be wiping the system. Because if PlayStation Vue is your only entry point, or you want to set that up first, in order to do this, if you do not have access to any other jailbreak, such as BDJB, or using a WebKit exploit, or Lua, or PPPone, if you don't know what I'm talking about and all you can use is PlayStation Vue to get in here, you do have to restore from a backup, and doing that is going to wipe the data off your system. I'm going to show you all how you can back up your save games on here for that important stuff, but aside from that, you do have to wipe the system. So now with the last of the disclaimers out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and restart my system just to get rid of the current jailbreak so we can start from scratch with a stock system. So now that we have no jailbreak up and running, we are going to need to knock out a few prerequisites. The first thing you're going to need is your PlayStation 4. This needs to be up and running and working, and this can be any model of the PlayStation 4, meaning it can be the original PS4, the PS4 Slim, and even the PS4 Pro. Like I said though, it does need to be on a compatible firmware. To check this, you can navigate up to your settings, go all the way down to system, and go to system information. Look at your system software version, and as long as it is at lowest 7.00 or at highest 13.00, you will be okay. You will also need a network connection to your PlayStation 4. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the internet. It would be recommended to do so. Of course, you can do this by going over to your settings, going over to network, and making sure you are connected there. However, I'm going to be showing that throughout the video. And finally, the last thing you need is really a USB drive and a computer to download a few files and transfer some things to and from the USB drive between the computer and the PlayStation 4. With all that said, I think we're ready for our downloads now, so go ahead, grab a USB drive, take it over to your PC, and let's get started. Before we even start with the jailbreak, I'm actually going to show you all an optional step of backing up your save data. What you can do is plug in your USB drive, and first we need to get this set up on the PS4. You can check this out by right-clicking and going to Properties and look at the file system. The file system needs to be FAT32 or exFAT, but for the PS4, I'd recommend formatting to exFAT. In order to do this here, first of all, navigate into the drive and back up any data that you might care about since we're going to be erasing it. Next, we can exit out, and in order to format this, you can right-click, click on Format, and for our file system, we're going to set this to exFAT, which would be recommended. Allocation size is fine, quick format is fine, start, okay. And after a few seconds, check this out, we can check the properties, and it is exFAT, so we are ready to roll on this. Now to do our actual backup, let's navigate over to the PS4 and bring that USB drive over. Over at the PS4, keep in mind, in order to do this data backup, the only way you can do it is you have to have an activated PlayStation Network account already on the system. Whether this is your own PlayStation Network account, a legitimate one, or even a fake activated one like the one I have here. If you want to tell whether your account has been activated or not, you can hold down the PlayStation button on your controller, go to Power, go to Switch User, and then look at the users available. You can see here that I have 2 activated accounts and 1 that is non-activated. The way you can tell is by the formatting. If you look at Mario or look at Vue, you could see that the names are italicized, which means they've been activated. If your username is not italicized, that means that that is an offline account, it has not been activated, and you cannot back up the data from it without a jailbreak. So if you have important save data on here, you are going to have to use another method to jailbreak your system if possible, such as BDJB, WebKit, Lua, PPPone, whatever's going to be available, because like I've said and I'm stressing, doing it this way here is going to wipe the system. But if you have an activated account already that you care about, so PlayStation Network enabled one, we can navigate in here, and what we can do is go over to Settings, go all the way down to Application Save Data Management, Save Data in System Storage, copy to USB storage device, and then find whichever save data you want to back up. I'll be honest, I really don't have any saves that I care about here, but just for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to go to Options, select Multiple Applications, select All, and then copy them out, and it's now copying everything to that USB drive, of course if you've plugged it in. Just go ahead and wait a few moments for this to copy over. And here we go, everything's been copied over, so with that done, you can go ahead and eject your USB drive from your PS4 and take it back over to your PC. Over at your computer, plug in your USB drive, navigate to the drive, and you're going to see this PS4 folder. Inside the PS4 folder, you'll see the save data folder, and inside of this save data folder, you're going to see a folder with random numbers and letters there, which is representative of the account that this is all tied to. But this is going to be all of your save data. So what you can do is just grab this entire save data folder. I'm going to copy, or you can cut it out, and then go ahead and back it up to your computer. You can see I have the save data folder right here, which will have all of my saves, and even if you want to, you can restore those after the jailbreak. I'll even show you how to do that. However, let's get to these downloads, and I do want to give credit where credit is due here. I'm going to be following this from the GitHub repository for Vue after free, and if there's any other questions you might have, it would be recommended to give this a once over here. But essentially these steps I'm going to be following will be the connection instructions as well as the non-jailbroken PS4 instructions. So if you ever get confused, you need to see anything that might be written here, it would be recommended to read up on this here. Keep in mind, this is also partially why I'm doing two videos on this, because you could see the jailbroken instructions and the non-jailbroken instructions are different methodologies of getting this all set up. So the first thing we're going to need here is Vue after free with the PlayStation Vue app, which we can just knock out here in one download. What you can do is scroll back up to the top and go over to the releases section. Now once you're over here, you can go ahead and read what is new and such, because there is still active development and fixes going on here, but what you can do is navigate down here and go to the Vue system backup file and then download and save it somewhere you can easily find it. The next thing you're going to need is your hen payload, and most people, including myself, use GoldHEN. If you want to use another variant or flavor of hen, that is totally up to you, but I'm going to be using GoldHEN for this video here. In order to download this, all the links of course will be down below in the description of this video, but this is going to be on Sistro's Coffee page. What you can do is navigate over here, click on shop, and then find the latest download available of GoldHEN. At the time of recording this, it is B18.9. Click on the release here, you can check out the changelog that's available, and you can see this one actually added support for 13.00, so it was a nice update. Now what you can do is donate if you so wish to, and if you do appreciate what Sistro does, a donation is always appreciated and does go a long way. However, if you just want to get the download, you could also hit 0 right here, add to cart, and then from here, enter in your email address, a display name, and then check out, and you should be able to get the download, which yet again, just save it somewhere you can easily find it. Since these are 7-zip archives, the best application to extract these would be 7-zip. If you do not have that on your computer, you can go ahead and navigate to the link here, go to download, and then install it and set it up just like any other application on your machine. Finally, as kind of a little bit of an all-in-one application to kind of springboard onto other ones, I'm going to have a link to the PS4 store or the Homebrew store linked down below in the description, which you can download and set up. For this here, you can go to the releases page and then look for the download that is store.r2.package. We don't want the legacy version, we don't want the PS5 version because that's just not going to work for us, but download the store.r2 package file and save it somewhere you can easily find it. Now I'm saving these to my desktop, but it should look something like this. If you backed up your save data, you have that folder, but you should also have the Vue system backup, GoldHEN, as well as the Homebrew store. Now go ahead, plug in your USB drive, and if you didn't do the backup section here or you didn't set up your drive, go ahead, right click, and check the properties of your drive, make sure it is FAT32, or more specifically, exFAT would be the best for PS4. I'm going to recommend exFAT. Yet again, if it is not exFAT and you need to format it, go into your drive, back up any data that you might care about. Once you do that, you can right click, set this to exFAT, default is fine, quick is fine, hit OK, and there we go, it's been wiped. So now we can start getting our USB drive set up. For our first download here, we're going to grab the Vue system backup, right click this, and use 7-zip to extract it into its own folder. You should now have a Vue system backup folder, which you can open up, and there's going to be a PS4 folder in here. If you want to see how this looks, PS4, export, backup, here we go, that's the date and time, and then this archive right here. So this really has everything we're going to need to get set up here. In order to utilize this here, just grab your PS4 folder, right click, and copy it out, and then on the root of your USB drive, right click and paste. Give it a few moments to copy over. I got a slow drive here, but we'll just let this happen. While that's copying over, to provide some clarity on these other files and why I didn't copy them over, when you set up this backup here, it's going to already have an activated account in it with the application and the necessary save data on there because it all works together. So this here is an encrypted save backup as it says, and in here you could see there's already an account which is assigned, and then you have the save data right here. This is here because occasionally the save data could corrupt, so that way if you're using the jailbreak and let's say something happens to your save, it ends up corrupting or something, you can just extract the zip file, grab the save data from here, transfer it back to a USB drive and restore it to your PS4. Additionally, there's also a save.zip, which is the same thing, but it's an unencrypted save file, so you can assign this to another user if you want to on your system. You have to do this through the Apollo save tool, which I'm not going to cover here, but I do have a video I have linked down below in the description of this video, which will go a little more into Apollo save tool and how you can back up saves from one account, restore them to another account, do activations and such, so you could use it for one of those instances. But for what we're doing here, all we need is our archive file. And while I've been talking, that already copied over, so you should have the PS4 folder ready to go. Next up, we're going to need GoldHEN. You can right-click the GoldHEN archive and extract it into its own folder. Open up the GoldHEN folder that's been created and find the goldhen.bin file. Now right-click this file, copy it, and go to the root of your USB drive next to the PS4 folder, right-click and paste. Now it should look like this, but we do need to rename it. If you're using Windows, click on View, Show, and make sure File Name Extensions is enabled. Then right-click the GoldHEN file, click on rename, and rename this to payload.bin. Next up, we're going to need the Homebrew store. So you can just go ahead and copy and paste this and put it on the root of the USB drive. Should be as simple as that, so there we go. Now with our USB drive set up, it should look exactly like this. We can exit out of here, right click and eject our drive and take it back over to our system. Now go ahead and plug your USB drive into the PS4 to get prepared, but I will warn you there's going to be some preparation steps here, which we're going to follow. The first thing I would recommend is coming up here, going to settings, go to network, and for the time being, just disconnect from the network on your system. The second thing, this here is optional. If you care about any of your gameplay captures, such as videos or screenshots that you've taken, you can also back those up as well too. You can navigate over to your storage, go to system storage, go to capture gallery, and then from here you can go to all, and you can choose to back up any of this data here to your USB drive, and then just like before, you can back it up to your computer. Since I personally don't care about the screenshot data on here, I'm not going to do that. But the next thing we can do now is actually restore our system. Now keep in mind, like I said, this is going to wipe the data on our system. That means any accounts on here, any games, applications, saves, anything is going to get wiped when we do this. So just keep that in mind. If you're ready to do this and continue on, make sure you have your USB drive plugged in. Now navigate up to settings, navigate all the way down to system, navigate to backup and restore, and we're going to go to restore PS4. And here we go, we have View After Free by the Vue team. So we're going to select this. It is going to tell us here that the PS4 will be initialized, all users, all data will be deleted, and then this is going to restore it. So just keep that in mind. I don't care about the data on my system, so I'm going to wipe it, but this is going to be your final warning. This is going to wipe all the data on your PS4. If you're okay with that, go ahead, click on restore. It's going to deactivate. It gives you one final warning here saying that the PS4 is going to be restored, and after restoration starts, the PS4 will not be able to return to the current state. Are you sure you want to continue? And if you want to continue, go ahead and say yes. It's now going to restart and restore our system. So let's just wait and see what happens. And here we go, it brings us up. So it's preparing to restore, and then it's going to restore our backup, which is thankfully pretty fast since it's like 500 megabytes. Let's just go ahead and wait. Oh, and it's restarting yet again. And here we go, after another restore, it's going to rebuild the database, and this here should pretty much operate like a brand new PS4. So we can press the PlayStation button, and there's only going to be one user on here, which is going to be Vue user. Go ahead and log in there. And check this out, once that's all done, it looks like a brand new PS4 because it's pretty much acting like it, and we do have View After Free. So congratulations, you've now been able to successfully restore your PS4 and get View After Free set up on here. But there's more to this here. Before we get the actual jailbreak process going, let's make sure we're not going to accidentally update our system. In order to do this, navigate up here, go over to Settings, And we're going to go over to System, here we go, navigate over to Automatic Downloads, and within here, make sure all of these have been unchecked because we do not want to accidentally update our system, of course. The next thing we can do is exit out yet again, and we're going to navigate over to our network settings. And from here, make sure you are connected to the internet, and we're going to set up our internet connection. Just navigate into this option, and from here, you can pick whichever option you're going to be using. So you could either use Wi-Fi or you could use an Ethernet LAN cable. I'm going to use a LAN cable personally, but I'll show you all how to get this set up. So pick your option here. For this, we're going to do custom. And now for our IP address settings, if you don't know what you're doing here, just hit automatic. Otherwise, if you have specific IP address settings for your network, you can type them in manually. But we're going to do automatic for this. DHCP hostname, do not specify. For our DNS settings, you must set this to manual. And for your primary DNS, this is what it's going to need to be. It must be 62.210.38.117. And your secondary DNS is going to be nothing. This is going to be required here because we want to block not only system updates, but also game and update patches. So if you do need those later on, you will have to temporarily disable this, but we need this in place just so our Vue app does not update. Additionally, just giving credit where credit is due yet again, this is over from the Vue After Free GitHub repository, and the reference I'm making here is in the connecting to the internet section. Now right here, I'm sharing this because it does have the primary DNS address that I have you all put in, but in case this does change in the future, you can go ahead and refer to this page. It's just good to double check this. Continuing on though, make sure that's your primary DNS. Now go down to next, and for MTU settings, we're going to set that to automatic. Proxy server, do not use, and then we can test our internet connection. Now it is going to fail, but don't worry about that. The one option that we care about is obtain IP address. And as long as that's successful, we can continue on. So we can go ahead and exit out of here. Now make sure you have your USB drive plugged in. That's going to be really important. And once you have that all set up, we can go over to Vue After Free, or well, PlayStation Vue right here, and go ahead, give it a launch. Now it's going to look a little something like this. Just wait a few seconds and it's going to give us a pop-up right here. This service requires you to sign into PlayStation Network. Just go ahead and ignore this by hitting the X button or OK right here. After a few more seconds, it will load in, and congratulations, this is what it should look like. So now all you need to do in order to jailbreak your system is, well, hit the top option, which is jailbreak. Now check this out. It detected our firmware. And here we go, we had jailbreak success. It did find our payload, so it's copying over, and congratulations, you now have GoldHEN up and running and working on your system. As easy as that. Now, once you're all good there, you can press the PlayStation button. We're going to close out of PlayStation Vue, and it should look about the same, except up here, you're going to have a new logo right here. Instead of the PlayStation Plus logo, you're going to have the GoldHEN logo. And it's going to have a lot of different options right here. But first, let's knock out something real quick. Let's go ahead and try and get rid of that pop-up. So in order to do that, we can open up the PlayStation Vue application yet again. Here we go, we get that pop-up, and there's a way that we can disable that. For this, you can go down to the payload menu, open this up, and there's several payloads which are available right here. The one that we care about is fake signin.bin. Just go ahead and load that up by highlighting it and pressing the X button. Wait a few moments. Fake sign in by Earth Onion. And there we go, signed in, reboot to apply. So once that's all been done, we can do exactly as it says. Just to do it cleanly, I'm going to close out of here, and then I'm going to reboot the system. So just bring this up, go to power, and restart PS4. And here we go, our PS4 is restarting, and this here is actually a good exercise because this is showing you how the jailbreak will work. So we're going to sign into our Vue user, and don't worry, we can set up new users later on. But once your PS4 is set up like this again, when you reboot it, it's going to look the same as a stock system because this is a tethered jailbreak, meaning every time you cold start the system like what I did, if you lose power, if you turn it off, or if you restart it fully, you are going to temporarily lose your jailbreak. In order to get it jailbroken again, all you need to do is launch PlayStation Vue. And now check this out, it should even be a little bit faster because we no longer have that pop-up. So go ahead and go to the jailbreak option right here, tap the X button on it, and check it out, it detects our firmware, and it still copies over the payload. We don't have to do that, more on that later, but you can see GoldHEN loaded up yet again, so we can now close out of this, and we should be good at that point. Now, it's also worth noting, if you try this out here and it's failing to jailbreak, you might just have to restart your system. Just whenever it fails, restart your system and relaunch the PlayStation Vue application. It might take a few tries, but that's just what you have to do. Either way, there's something else I'd like to show you all in the PlayStation Vue application before we move on. So navigate to View After Free, open it up, and we can go into the configuration menu, which it looks like since there's still active development here, this menu is probably going to change and have even more options in the future. But you can go ahead, go over to config, and from here you can change your configuration. Now, just to explain these here, for the JB behavior, this is just set to auto detect, which you can change it to either net control, which is the same as poopsploit. And yeah, that's actually what it's called. I'm not kidding. So I gotta drop this reference. I'm sorry.
Look, we're adults in here. You can say it.
Poop?
You said poop! I said! I said poop in here!
Poop! So with that out of the way, you can either choose if you want to use the poopsploit, or you can use lapse, or just let it auto detect. I'd recommend people just set this to auto detect depending on your firmware. Really, what you need to know is 12.02 or lower is going to use lapse, which is more stable. But if you have anything higher than 12.02, it's going to use poopsploit, which does work, but it's not going to be as stable as lapse. Some other settings we can tweak, however, are if you want to disable the music, you can just uncheck that. If you want to have this application auto close, you can also enable that. And if you want to have it automatically jailbreak on boot, you can also do that same thing. Now, like I said, if you're on firmware 12.02 or lower, you're going to be using lapse. And if you're on a firmware higher than 12.02, you'll be using poopsploit. So since I'm going to be using lapse, this is what my settings look like. I'm going to hit back, and we should be good at this point now. You can see even if you reload it, it will say you're already jailbroken, which works out pretty well. So just to show you all one last time how seamlessly this works here, I'm going to go to power and restart the system. Now, just to show you all how seamless this should be when it's been optimized, so to speak, I've unplugged my USB drive for the time being, but you just need to go over to the PlayStation Vue application, launch it, and check it out. And there we go, that's all there is to it. We have been successfully jailbroken. You can see GoldHEN as loaded up, and now that we're in a jailbroken state, congratulations, it was as easy as that. But how exactly do you get from here to here that I showed at the beginning of the video? Well, let's go ahead and get started there. The first thing we can do is check out our GoldHEN settings, which you can navigate up here, go to where it used to say PlayStation Plus, and open up GoldHEN. Now check it out, this is definitely a menu you might not have seen before, but in order to navigate it and change a few things, let's go ahead and walk through it. The first thing is going to be our debug settings, which you see the package installer is here, and you can choose to change this, but you probably don't need to do it. The thing we do need to enable, however, is our debug settings, and I'd recommend doing a full menu for debug settings. You can also enable debug game settings as well, that's going to be up to you, but I'm going to enable that. Next up in cheat settings, you can enable the cheat menu, which is set there by default. I'm also going to have show the title ID. Now keep in mind that you can change this to title ID, app version, or both title ID and app version, but if you have a lot of applications and games installed, this could slow down performance on your XMB. Just keep that in mind. You can also update the cheat archive from here, but I'm going to show you another way of doing that. Let's go ahead, exit out, go to our plugin settings. I would recommend enabling the plugins loader right there. And for the patch archive, we're going to update this later on too, but you can do it from here, and you can even update the plugin archive. Again, we're going to use another application to do that in a bit. You could also go over to the game overlay settings, and if you want to, you could enable a FPS counter. I'm going to show the FPS counter, and you can even enable system information to really enable or disable any of these nice little nerdy settings. I'm personally going to disable that because I don't really use it there, but you can also even enable scan lines, which is pretty cool. I'm not going to be using that either. For the servers settings, I would recommend having an FTP server enabled, so that way if you ever want to use FTP between your PS4 and like a tablet, a phone, another computer you have, your own computer, you can send files through your network to your PS4 pretty easily. There's also a payload server right here, which if you are going to be sending payloads that way, you can enable it. It certainly doesn't really hurt anything, so I'm going to keep it enabled, but that's going to be up to you. And there's also a kernel log server, but unless you're really trying to debug that, you don't need to enable this here. Next up, there's also the general settings, and I would say definitely make sure rest mode has been enabled. But for these other ones here, PPPoE, this is going to be if you're on like firmware 11 or lower and you're using the network exploit. Since we're not using that here, we don't need it. And BD app autokill, that's for people who are going to be using BDJB. Again, if you're not going to be using that, you don't need to enable it. I'm personally going to enable it because I still like to use that disk as well. However, we can go to the date and time, and from here you can update the date and time yourself, and you can even enable it to auto update whenever you launch GoldHEN. I'll go ahead and update this here so we are up to speed. And finally, in the About section, you can check out these features as well, where you can see what GoldHEN is about, all the really cool features it has to offer, and some of the further information on here like warnings, change logs, things like that. You also have the cheat menu available where you can look at all the information for this here, more credit for the plugins themselves, about me. This one is pretty cool. Check this out. It gives you a little bit of a old school Cracktro where it just kind of loads up directly here. Or actually, wait, no, it's not this one. This one just brings you to the GitHub page. There's going to be another one here. I got ahead of myself, but let me go back to About. I want to say it's, here we go, the old school Cracktro, this one. This is what I was trying to show. I'm not going to fully spoil this one here, but it looks pretty cool if you want to sit here and check this all out. But for some of the ones that I missed here, going back to About, we do have the GoldHEN supporters. So if you are a supporter of GoldHEN, you do get your name in here, which is pretty cool. You could also support GoldHEN yourself as well too, which is always encouraged if you do really like it. So this just brings you to the Ko-fi page, but probably better to do that on a phone or a computer, not so much on the PS4. Just because, it'll be a little more annoying to navigate that page. But either way, that is about all there is for the GoldHEN settings right here. Now, there are a few other applications that you can set up, and in order to do that, we do need to, install some applications. So take your USB drive, make sure it's plugged in, and we're going to navigate up here, go over to settings, and in order to install any package files, which will be games, applications, emulators, things like that, you need to go to your settings, debug settings, game, package installer, and from here, any packages on your USB drive will show up. Just give this a few moments to install, and once that's been installed, awesome. We have the Homebrew store right here, which might be your first Homebrew app that you've installed yourself. So now make sure you're connected to the internet and go ahead and fire up the Homebrew store. It'll probably tell you an update is required, so go ahead and press OK and let it download and install the update. There we go, it's been applied. Now when it reloads here, it's going to bring up a donation message. So here we go. If you enjoy this here, you can choose to donate if you so choose to. We can hit OK. It'll cache the app icons, and then after that, check it out. It should start populating everything, and congratulations, you now have access to this store. So there's a few applications that we can install here, and just in these store apps, let's see, one of them that I like is PS4 Explorer, which is a really nice file explorer. I'm going to go ahead, let that download and install. Another one that I'm going to install as well is going to be the Apollo Save Tool. This will actually be really good for activating other accounts and even restoring your backup saves that you just made a few minutes ago. So if you care about those saves, you're definitely going to want to download the Apollo Save Tool. Next up, I also recommend going here and downloading the PS4 Cheats Manager. So we can go ahead, download and install that. There's also another option here where the remote package installer essentially allows you to install packages through your network as opposed to just relying on a USB drive or even a disk. So if you want to install this, you can go ahead, download that as well. Let it install. Those are pretty much the applications I want to install and recommend on here, but if there's any other ones that you want to go to, you can go through the store app groups, and from here you can see a little bit more organization with what might be available. So they got some homebrew games and some games that have been ported over. You can see on the left here, they've got add-ons, media, utilities, just things like that. So really just go through and see what might be available and what might pique your interest. So now that we've gotten some applications installed from the store, one thing I'd actually like to do is show you all how you can restore any of your save data and get your account back on your system in a way so you can actually use it. This is if you ended up backing up your save games. If you don't care about it, you can skip past this section here, but this will show you how to do it, and there'll be a little bit of a bonus of even getting your Vue save data imported to that account. We're going to do this with the Apollo Save tool here, and in order to do that, we need to make a new account. So in order to do that here, hold down the PlayStation button, go over here, log out of PS4, wait a few moments, and then press the PlayStation button on your controller, end up pressing it too many times, and we're going to create a new user. So I'm going to create a new user right here. We can accept, skip PlayStation Network, and for our username, you can call it really whatever you want to. Now my old account was called Mario, so I'm going to do the exact same thing right here. Just call that Mario, hit confirm, hit OK. And there we go. Now this account I am going to plan on using primarily. So for that, if you want to do that same thing, go over to settings. We're going to go to login settings, log into PS4 automatically. So that way we don't have to worry about it all too much. Now we will need to activate this account. In order to do that, navigate over to the Apollo Save tool and open it up. It should tell you that it installed some local application data, and then once it loads up here, you can navigate over to the user tools, go to activate PS4 accounts, and you should already have Vue user, which is activated with all ones. But if you see this one here activated with all zeros, that means that, well, it is not activated. So we're going to go ahead and activate it. Now, in order to get it working with your old saves, this is going to be really important. You're going to need an ID. So go back over to your computer real quick with your USB drive. Over here, remember this save data folder that you might have backed up? Well, we're going to be working with it again. Go ahead and right click the save data folder, copy it out. Now plug in your USB drive, navigate over to the drive. We can actually remove the store R2 package file as well as the payload because we're not going to need those again, at least for now. Go into the PS4 folder, and in here we can actually get rid of the export directory, so I'll delete that as well. But within the PS4 folder, right click and paste your save data folder. That is where it should exist. Oh, and while that's copying over, we can actually go back into our Vue system backup folder, and remember this save.zip file and the encrypted one I talked about? Let's go ahead and get these ones set up as well too. You go ahead, grab your save.zip file, and then right click and extract it. Let's say extract it here. Once it's extracted out, it's going to extract into the PS4 folder, navigate into the PS4 folder, find this Apollo folder, right click, and copy the Apollo folder out. Close out of this, and now in your PS4 folder on your USB drive, navigate to PS4, next to save data, you're going to paste in the Apollo folder. What we're going to do is put our modified save data onto our own account. But this here is also going to be really important. Navigate into this save data directory. Inside of here, you're going to have a folder with random numbers and letters. You're going to need this on hand. So either write it down, take a picture, or you could even just have it on a screen next to you while you're over on Apollo. Back over at the PS4, make sure you highlight the account you want to activate, tap the X button, and it's going to bring up a prompt here saying enter the account ID. Now it's going to have a bunch of random numbers and letters, but remember those numbers and letters I told you about in that folder? Yeah, you're going to want to type those up over here. So now with that typed in, compare it to your folder name, make sure it is the same, double check it, triple check it, quadruple check it if you need to, and once you're done, go ahead, hit done right here. It's going to tell you account successfully activated, a system reboot is required, hit OK, and we're going to do exactly that. We're going to go ahead, we'll exit out of those prompts, and then reboot the PS4. Also, while that's rebooting, you can go ahead, grab a USB drive, right click and eject it, and take it back over to your PS4, because we're going to need that now. So now once your system restarts, there's going to be a few changes here if you activated your account successfully. If you were able to do that, your username up at the top of the screen, the top middle, should show up in italics. It's also going to say at the bottom here, sign in to PlayStation Network, meaning that you have successfully activated your system. Now you can also check this too, make sure you have your USB drive plugged in. You can see my PS4 is not even jailbroken right now, but we can go over to settings, go over to, let's see, application saved data management, go to save data on USB storage device, copy to system storage, and check this out. Once it loads in, we now have all of these saves available, and you can see several of them are non-installed applications, which just makes sense that they're not installed. But if you want to copy everything back over, we're going to press the options button, select multiple applications, select all. I'm actually going to deselect this one since we need to make our own, and then just copy it back over. If there's any you want to overwrite, it's going to be up to you. I'm going to say yes, but there we go. If this works for you, congratulations, you were able to activate your account properly, and you were able to copy your saves back over, so you're able to restore them successfully. If this did not work, if you didn't do it properly, you would not be able to copy those saves over. So now we've been able to restore that. However, there's one last save we need to set up on here, and it's actually going to be debatably our most important one, which is for PlayStation Vue, because you see on this new account, this is not going to work as expected. We still have to use the old account. But what if you want to use this on a new account? Well, it's thankfully pretty simple. First, we do have to switch accounts. So go to Power, go to Switch User, and we're going to switch over to View User. Now once View User is signed in, go ahead and navigate over to View After Free or PlayStation Vue and open it up. It looks like doing all that brings this up here, so we'll go ahead, hit OK, wait a few seconds. And there we go. We were able to launch that as is. So even though we did have that prompt there again, we'll be able to fix it on the old account, new account, and even both of them here. I'll show you the process of that. Once everything has been updated here, from here, we can go over to Power, Switch User yet again, and this time around, we're going to go into the Mario account, or whichever account you've set up. You can see here that we do have our jailbreak running successfully, but for this, again, make sure your USB drive is plugged in, and then launch the Apollo Save tool. Once this has been launched, navigate over to USB Saves, and since I have all the other saves on here, it might take some time to load that in, but here we go. The one we're going to be looking for, however, in all of this is going to be CUSA00960. And if you can't really tell which one is yours here or which one to use, it's going to be the save that does not have a padlock on it. So go ahead, load this one up. You can see it is the Vue app. Now go to Copy Save Game to HDD. There we go, that's been done. At this point, we can go ahead, close out of here, and we should be all good to go. Now with that copied over, we can also fix up that prompt as well too. So we can go ahead and open up View After Free. You see I am opening this up on the Mario account here. So we can hit X on that. And then in order to fix that, go to Payload menu, fake signin.bin. Wait a few moments for that to load up. So now with that done, it's also important to back up the save data that we just made for our account here. In order to do that, navigate back up here, go over to Settings, go down to Application Save Data Management, save data in System Storage, copy to USB drive. It's going to bring up this prompt, go ahead, hit OK, and you should see the top one here is going to be PlayStation Vue. You can go ahead and copy this over, give it a few moments, I'm going to say yes to that, and there we go. The reason why we're doing that is because occasionally you might do something or it could happen where that save data ends up getting corrupted. So that way, instead of going through this whole big process, you can just keep it safe on your USB drive, on a computer, or even both. And you can always just restore that here through the XMB itself in order to get back into Vue. Now, in order to make sure this is working as well, we can go ahead and restart our PS4 yet again. So there's going to be a lot of restarts here, but let's just make sure everything is working. Now you can see here after a restart, we are signed into the Mario account. We got PlayStation Vue or View After Free here. So let's go ahead and load this up. There we go. We got our firmware detected. And there we go. Congratulations, we've been successfully jailbroken now. So at this point, we can continue on and our save data is in a good spot. Now, if you've gotten this far in the tutorial, first of all, thank you for your patience. And secondly, we're going to kind of quickly go over the next things here because I want to show you all a few cool things. Now, you all saw how to install some applications like this through the store, but what if you have other things that you want to install, such as games, DLC, updates, and more? Well, I'm going to show you all how you can do that real quick with a USB drive. I'm currently waiting on this file copy here with a slow USB drive I have, but I have several package files here for games that I have ended up crafting up myself. PT and Dead Rising I end up dumping myself, and then Silent Hill, Xenogears, and Driver 1 and 2. These are also all emulated builds of games from the PS1 working on PS4. I do have videos showing how to set these up as well too if you want to dump and make your own package files. But in short, you really just have to take your package files and just like the store, you copy and paste them to the root of the USB drive so they exist just right here. If you're looking at your USB drive, just enter it and copy any of the package files directly to the root of it. Once those are copied to your USB drive, as long as you have the jailbreak active, you just need to go over to Settings, scroll all the way down to Debug Settings, you can go to Game, Package Installer, and here you go. We got the packages available. I'm just going to go ahead and install all of these because these are games I want back on my system. Alright, so it took a couple minutes, but as you can see, we are on the last game right here, and once it's done, it should look a little something like this. There we go. Sometimes it hangs at the end, but you can see right here, boom, we have all of our games. Xenogears, Silent Hill, PT, Driver, as well as Dead Rising. So congratulations, that is how you can fire these up. If you want to play one of these games, like for example, you know what, let's go ahead and fire up Xenogears. You can see right here, it should work. You can also see in the bottom left, there is a frame per second counter, which, okay, I definitely know it's not going to be running that high in reality, but let's see. If we can at least get to the menu, I'll show you this. So here we go, we're at the menu. You can go ahead and start a new game, and it does take a few minutes to get in here, so I'm just at least showing that it's loading, but there we go. It is working. That's a PS1 game being emulated on the PS4. Now next up, what if you want to do some cool stuff like cheats, patches, plugins, and what exactly can you do with those? Well, I'll show you what to do. What you can do is navigate over to the PS4 Cheats Manager and fire this up. Once it loads in, it should look something like this here, and the first thing you can do is go over to the Update section. What we can do is navigate down to Update Cheats, Patches, and Plugins over the internet. So tap the X button here. We're going to update our cheats. So give it some time to download this. And there we go. That's all done. Next up, we're going to grab our patches. And finally, we're going to grab the plugins. And there we go. All that's complete. So we can now exit out of here, and we should be good at this point. So for the time being, let's go ahead and close the PS4 Cheats Manager. Now just to double check our settings to make sure all these wonderful things work, go back over to GoldHEN. We're going to go to Cheat Settings, make sure Cheat menu is active, and you can see we can also update our cheats from here, but we don't necessarily need to. We can also go over to Plugin Settings, make sure the Plugins Loader is enabled, and now at this point you can enable the Game Patch plugin. That's going to be important. And you can also update your patches and your plugins from here as well too. But you just have to get those in order to, well, enable this here. So once that's all done, let's go ahead and try out cheats. Now for cheats, if you're wanting to play around with these, it does depend on the exact build of the game you're using as well as the version. So not all games are going to have the same amount of cheats. I know like Dead Rising, for example, there's a couple ways you can activate this. I'll show you. If you highlight the game itself, press the options button, there's a GoldHEN patch menu up at the top. And there's patches that might or might not be available for your particular game, but that's specifically patches. If you want to load up cheats, you can load up the game itself. Then once you're past this screen and once you're actually in game, or I guess, well, once it's loaded, if you hold down the share button for a few seconds, it should bring up the GoldHEN cheat menu. Now typically what you can do from this menu, if you do have a game like I'm showing on screen as an example, which does have cheats available, you can navigate through the different pages of cheats. You can also enable and disable cheats at will, and from there you can have a little bit more fun with your games. Have some fun with infinite ammo, health, and so much more. Now using patches is going to be a little bit different here, and for this I'm actually going to show this on PT. Now I know PT does not have any cheats, but it does have patches, so we can highlight the game, press the options button, and go to the GoldHEN patch menu. And check this out, we do have several options available, like 60 frames per second, disable lens flare, disable camera blur, disable screen space reflections, and disable film grain. So just as an example, if you've played this game before, awesome. If you have not, it's very spooky, and you might be in for a little bit of a treat, or a scare, or maybe both. But you can see once you apply some patches, it will tell you that they've been applied. It shows you how many lines have been applied. And this one does function a little bit differently here. I've noticed this one's odd. So first of all, if you've played this before, you could see that the game typically runs at 30 frames per second, and I am running on a standard PS4, just the original model, but there's film grain, there's all that stuff, but you could see right here that this is actually running at 60 frames, which is really surreal to see. And on top of that, if you're watching this video in 60 frames per second, you should be able to tell a difference. Now, the only thing is, and I think this is just with the game itself, not the patch, pretty much when you walk through there, it comes down to 30 frames. And that's just how the game is designed itself. But you can see right here, this is working, this is running, and we do have patches that are available for this. So just before I give anyone a heart attack on this, let's go ahead and just close out of PT. If you want to scare yourself, feel free. Now, if you've never messed around with a jailbroken PS4 before, or it's been a while since you've messed around with one, let's go over some of the little oddities that hang up people. One of them is here. Let's say you're done playing your games, you're all good to go at this point, you want to turn off the system, so we're going to go ahead and turn off our system completely. And now let's say it's 2 or 3 days later, I'm sitting down, I finally have some free time, and I just want to enjoy some games on my freshly jailbroken PlayStation 4. So I go over, I turn on the system, auto login works, all of my beautiful games are there, but check this out. They all have padlocks on them, and if I try to launch anything, which you all saw, all this just worked, can't connect to server to verify the license, can't connect to server, This one here, none of these are working, even though they did before. Even like Homebrew Store, none of this stuff is working. Well, that's because these are fake package files, and they only work if you have a jailbreak up and running and working. Now, because this is a temporary jailbreak or a tethered jailbreak, every time you cold start the system, meaning you've turned it off completely, like if you had to do this, you had to turn off the system, you rebooted the system, maybe you even cut power to the system, you had a power loss, you lose your jailbreak. Thankfully, due to Vue After Free, it's really easy to get this up and running. In order to fix this issue, go ahead and launch Vue After Free, wait a few seconds, and there we go. You could see now it looks like what we had before, and all of these games should no longer have padlocks on them. So a game that just didn't work right there, let's say PT, you can see that this is firing up. We have the FPS in the bottom left, and it's working. Yep, we have the patch lines, we have the loading screen, all that stuff. So there we go. That is how you can fix your games if they are not launching. Just remember, if you install them as fake package files like that, they do have to have a jailbreak running in order to actually work. Now, there's another question that people have, because there's a lot of people, including myself, who are just not fans of tethered jailbreaks. So how can you prevent this from happening? Well, first of all, you can just never power off the system, but that might not be too realistic. So a good middle ground is rest mode. Now, this is something that has been stabilized in recent years on the PS4, but if you don't want to go through this process every single time, what you can do instead of restarting or turning off your PS4 is you can just go into rest mode. Check this out, we'll go ahead and put it in rest mode, and then after a few seconds we'll pull it out of rest mode. So there we go, we turned the system back on, we've pulled it out of rest mode, and you'll know this is working because we have all of our GoldHEN notifications coming back up. We do also have GoldHEN available, and check this out, we also have all of our version information on our games, and let me try something different. You know what, let's go ahead and fire up Silent Hill. But you could see right here that we're able to get that up and running without having to relaunch Vue every single time. It's really going to be up to you what you want to do. Personally, I like to completely turn off my systems and turn them back on, and thankfully Vue is stable enough and quick enough that that's not really too much of an issue. But if you want to save yourself a little bit of time, maybe a little bit of headache, and maybe you might be using Poopsploit, for example, and it's just not the most stable on your system, rest mode can definitely help out. Now, there's one last thing I want to talk about, which is firmware updates, because there's a lot of people who end up accidentally updating their firmware, and that is the easiest way to lose your jailbreak and even lock yourself out of getting another jailbreak if you're on too high of a firmware. So there's a few things to look out for. Number one, what you'll need to do is go over to your settings, and like I said near the beginning of this video, make sure you go to System, Automatic Downloads, and disable all of these here. I will say, I've said it in several videos, but I've had this system since it was running 1.76 firmware, and I've updated it accidentally exactly 0 times. So as long as you're not downloading any firmware updates, as long as you're not applying them, and as long as you, let's say you even let someone else use this system and you educate them on just not running updates on here, you should be in a good spot. Additionally, we also have GoldHEN up and running, which I say this because GoldHEN actually has update blocking capabilities already built in, meaning that as long as GoldHEN is running, you cannot update the firmware on your system. So you should also have a little bit more protection there. Finally, we also had to change our network settings. So you can go to network, and from here you all saw, we went to LAN cable, custom, automatic, do not specify, and then manual. This IP address that I had you enter in right here, this one ends up blocking firmware updates as well as game updates. So that way you will not be able to even download an update to your system, which is pretty nice. Now, if you ever do need to download patch updates or do something similar, you will have to disable this DNS, but if you disable the DNS but you have GoldHEN up and running while you do so, you should be in an okay spot. So that's just a few things to keep in mind. But with those three in place and running in conjunction, you should be in a good spot to not update your system, as long as you also exercise some common sense and don't actually try to update it or go online on the latest firmware. Either way, that is about it for this video here. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for hanging out. It's very much appreciated, and I also do want to give a huge shout out to all the team here that worked on this exploit for Vue. This includes UFM42, Cow AR, Earth Onion, Hello Uno, Gajina, D-Link Turtle, Dr. Yen Yen, The Flow, as well as ABC. all those people right there, even if they didn't directly work on Vue After Free, they ended up releasing and helping out with contributions that might have happened in the past, which ended up making Vue After Free possible. So again, a huge shout out and thank you to everybody on that list. But either way, that's really about it for this video here. Hopefully you enjoyed it, hopefully it helped out, hopefully you are now up and running in the land of Vue After Free and GoldHEN on your PS4. Now if you enjoyed this video, a like would absolutely be appreciated, and if you didn't like it, a dislike is fine as well too. As I always say, this is Mr. Mario, signing off. Thank you all for watching, everyone.